Hi, everyone. Entelo Head of Recruiting Britt Ryan here. As you may know, our former host, Rob Stevenson, has moved on to a new role outside of Entelo. But hiring on all cylinders lives on. You'll be hearing more of me and other familiar voices you know from Entelo's recruiting and talent team. In the meantime, you can expect more of the same smart, amazing guests and fascinating conversations on the wide world of recruiting and talent acquisition. So stay tuned. Thanks.
Do you want to add value to your business, or do you want to just be this administrative person?
And often, if you look at your talent team and the caliber of talent in your company, they correlate.
You could hire the best person for the job if they were in your candidate pool.
All these individual employees, one by one, together, their voices all come together to articulate the culture of the company.
Okay, so here we are today, speaking of new and exciting folks that we haven't had on the podcast before. I am here with Kelly Hale, who is an engineer extraordinaire of ours here at Entelo. And Kelly, I would love it if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and what brings you to hiring on all cylinders today.
Thanks, Britt.
My pleasure.
So I actually am currently working on Entelo's search team. So I am working on the user interface for the search product, which is the product that most of our customers are most familiar with.
Got it. And for those of us who are not technologists, user interface, UI, what's that all about?
That is the part of the application that the customer actually has to see and interact with. So a big part of what I do or am trying to do is build delightful customer experiences.
Is there anything super awesome or secretive that you can share with us about what the future holds for Entelo?
Well, if I share it, it's no longer a secret. There are some fantastic projects.
Would you have to kill me?
I think we need to go that far. There are some really, really exciting products that are sort of coming down the pike for Entelo right now, which is awesome. And then there's some revitalization of our current products as well. So there's a lot to look forward to. But the most that I can kind of share publicly at this particular moment is that hopefully our customers can look forward to a much improved user experience in the near future.
Cool. Well, hey, Kelly, I'm super curious. You came to us and you interviewed, and you're super involved in interviewing here at Entelo. Share with us a little bit about what it's like to interview for an engineering role at Entelo. Did you find it to be different than other places you'd interviewed?
I would say so. One of the things that attracted me as a candidate to Entelo last time I was on the job market was, in fact, Entelo's interview process. It's involved. It's longer for us than I think for a lot of companies our size, which, can be intimidating at times. But one of the things that I really enjoyed about it was the fact that by design, you got to meet a lot of different members of the engineering team and you got to work on a lot of different problems. So you kind of get this nice breadth and this good sense of the team, the people that you're going to be working with every single day, in addition to having kind of a lot of opportunities to demonstrate your own knowledge and your own skill set.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what about any particular challenging things that you're working on here these days, or anything that keeps you up at night?
So I would say that one of the most challenging things here at Entelo, or really in any engineering role, is making sure that you're actually delivering not only the best experience for your customers, but the experience that customers actually want, that you're building things that actually have value. Mm-hmm. So in our case, we build recruiting software. We want to make sure that the people that are using this are actually finding it valuable, that it's adding something that, our competitors aren't able to add, or that it's simply making their lives easier in some way. So if I can make your job easier, I've been successful at my job.
Right on. Very cool. Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks here. What's Entelo's culture really like?
So Entelo's culture, I can primarily speak to the engineering culture, but I'd say generally speaking, Entelo's culture is an incredibly fun, open, playful culture. everyone that I've interacted with at this company has been just pretty much a wonderful human being. Engineering culture specifically, one of the things, again, that drew me here was the fact that our engineers are about as egoless as an engineering organization can be.
That's pretty unique, isn't it?
I would say so. In my experience, one of the things a lot of times you're working around when you're trying to get your job done is you're working around egos. And that's, that can be both positive or negative depending on the context, but it makes sometimes getting stuff done tricky if you're also having to sort of take egos into account. This is an incredibly collaborative team. This is a team that on the whole is not, very territorial. So there's a lot of opportunity for cross-team collaboration. When you improve somebody else's product because you saw an opportunity and you issued a pull request, you actually offered some code in response to seeing an opportunity, you're thanked. Mm-hmm. Like it's something that's embraced. So that's a huge win. So if there are any engineers out there listening who are looking for work, hit me up.
Are you going to refer them?
You know it.
Nice. She plugs it even on the podcast. I love it. Okay, well, before I let you talk about, what we all know to be Kelly's greatest strength at Entelo, which is employee referrals, I'm going to back up a little bit to talk even a little bit more about the engineering culture.
Sure.
Because Entelo's growing. You guys are hiring engineers like crazy. So what do you guys do to preserve that as you're interviewing? What do you think keeps it alive?
Well, for one thing, there's a lot of work that we put into interviewing. I mentioned that a little bit from my perspective as a candidate, meeting a lot of different people. Now on the other side of that, I know how much work goes into not just the interview itself, not just the time that you spend in the room with the candidate, and not just the debrief afterwards, but preparation. We make sure that we're asking appropriate questions for every single candidate that comes in the door. We, sometimes kind of make game day decisions in terms of what questions we're actually going to ask, because the point of an interview isn't to sort of trick the candidate, isn't to sort of get one up on the candidate. The idea is you're trying to suss out whether or not this person is going to be a fit and whether this person has strengths that they can bring to the role that, will be beneficial to your company, your organization. So we're very mindful about the questions we ask. We're very mindful about who we're asking them to. We try to sort of match interviewers to questions very sort of carefully to make sure that, people that are comfortable giving those questions, mm-hmm. who can sort of evaluate candidate responses appropriately. And we put a lot of work into the questions themselves. I can't tell you how many meetings I've sat in where we've, as a group, deliberated over whether or not a question is actually giving us good signal, whether a question is appropriate, whether a question is maybe unfairly weeding people out. It's an ongoing process, and our interview process, like our interview question list is really a living document.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. So are you asking questions about how many golf balls fit in an airplane, or does that not fit in?
We don't ask those kinds of questions. When you interview here, you get asked questions that actually pertain to the sorts of things that you would maybe need to do on the job. Like, it's not, there aren't trick questions, there aren't puzzles, we don't whiteboard algorithms. You might need to talk about an algorithm if you're talking about, how you would optimize performance in a hypothetical system, but it's not the same thing as, here's a puzzle question, mm-hmm. and, solve it. And if you solve it, maybe you go to the next round. And if you don't, you probably don't.
Okay. If I solve it, can I have a cookie?
For sure.
Okay, awesome.
There are lots of them in the kitchen. You don't even need to ask permission.
Okay, I know. I probably still won't be able to solve it, but cookies might be pretty motivating for me. Okay, so leading into what we're all dying to talk about, referrals. Since you have been on board, have you felt that because of, and I won't say exclusively the engineering team, but because of what the engineering team looks like, because of your process, did that influence your wanting to refer people to Entelo?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime you refer somebody to a company, especially a company that you work at, you're kind of putting yourself on the line, and you're kind of doing it from two different directions. One is presumably the person you're referring is somebody that you know. Mm-hmm. Certainly, like, the closer they are to you, the sort of more fraught that can be. And then on the other end, if you work for the company you're referring the person into, if you refer somebody who is, rude or, maybe just does not do well, or there's lots of ways that can go. But, like, you get somebody in and they end up being a drain on resources, it maybe shouldn't reflect on you, but we all kind of understand how human nature works around that. So yeah, I mean, there is a little bit of vulnerability that goes into referring people in. And so if, the company culture is one that you think is going to not be good for the person you're referring in, it sort of behooves you to not refer them in.
I got it. Okay. So you want to refer good people. You want to refer people who you think are going to be successful here. One of the things that I think is so interesting about Entelo is that we talk a lot about culture add as opposed to culture fit.
Right.
And so it's not about, this person would be a great referral because they're just like me. So what are some of the things that go into your thought process around what actually makes someone referral worthy?
A lot of times it boils down to whether or not I think that person sort of embodies, so for one thing, definitely whether or not they embody some of the traits we do look for, and where that refers to culture add instead of culture fit does have to do with, like, is this person collaborative? When this person shows up day one, are they going to be kind of giving of themselves and their experience and bringing their sort of myriad experience to the table and sort of leveling the whole team up as a result? So whether or not someone's collaborative is a big one. Whether or not someone's, friendly and communicative and would be able to, work well with a team and again, bring something unique. But really, when we talk about, culture add, we are talking about, like, we are interested in people that are from sort of a diverse range of backgrounds and experiences. And it's not just diversity in the way that we typically talk about diversity in tech. It's also, really diversity of experience. Mm-hmm. So we've hired people that don't know our tech stack, because they've been working on, C++, or they've been working on Java, or they've been doing cybersecurity or whatever, right? Like, we've hired people that don't know our tech stack, because that is not more important to us than having this fantastic person who's going to come in and teach us all something about, wherever it is that they've come from and whatever it is that they've done. They've got all kinds of valuable wisdom that they can offer us. And really, when you get right down to it, beyond a certain point, the tech stack is a fairly trivial thing when it comes to putting together like a really good engineering team.
Cool. I love that. Okay, so this is one of the things that I've always thought has been really interesting about getting referrals from Kelly. And I actually use you as an example when I'm talking to other people about the value of referrals. But I mean, what's your secret sauce, right? Like, where do you go to find referrals? Because you haven't just referred people unique to engineering. You've referred people to other parts of the company, and, they're not necessarily all people that you went to preschool with. So when you think about an opportunity at Entelo that you want to share and potentially refer someone for, like, how do you go about that?
Right. The way I approach referring to engineering roles is a little bit different than the way I've approached referring to non-technical roles. When it comes to, referring, obviously, I think what a lot of people do, and possibly the first and last step that a lot of people take in sort of finding potential referrals is to share with your immediate network. So wherever it is that you have people, whether, you have a lot of professional connections on Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever else, obviously you can use social media as a way of sort of getting news out there that you have this job on offer. But that said, to be honest with you, the sort of first tier network has not necessarily, like, the best way to find new people, because in a lot of cases, especially if you do share jobs on the regular, your people know that, there are these positions available, and they know that if they're looking for a particular position or they're interested in your company, that they can come to you. So a lot of times I feel like, your immediate network might be tapped out. Where I've had quite a bit of success is actually going like one network beyond. So sharing, like asking friends who have networks that I'm not a part of, whether it's alumni networks or professional associations or whatever. If you've got a job that's really, really cool and it's a good company and it's a company that you think that, most people would be really happy to work at, it's not that difficult to, ask people to sort of pass these jobs along. Mm-hmm. So I've had good success sort of having friends and family actually kind of place my little, job pitch like in their immediate networks. And I've gotten quite a bit of interest out of these networks that I don't have access to. In addition to that, like if you're part of professional associations, like networking is really key in general. Whatever it is that you're doing or interested in, or whatever, if you're an engineer, whatever technology you're working with, if you're active at all in like professional communities, there's a lot of people on there that you may not know. And when you post jobs, you might get a few bites. So I've had success just kind of putting these in a variety of places. And then just when you're out and you're meeting people, if you meet somebody who's really interesting, and they're doing something and there's an open rec at your company for like that role or a better role, and like you're gonna meet people all the time that are doing interesting things, and you can kind of hang on to those people, and when appropriate, you can be like, hey, so my company is doing XYZ, are you interested? And I think most people are pretty flattered to be thought of. So even though it's kind of an awkward interaction sometimes when you're sort of selling this person on this, this company or whatever, like people are flattered to be considered worthy of even having that conversation a lot of the time.
Yeah. I know I recently met with someone and I followed up with you and said, Kelly, that person was lovely. And you were like, that's my bus buddy. And I was like, really? So you sit next to somebody on the bus and you talk to them about opportunities at Entelo. So not only did I love that, but even though that person was overqualified for the existing role at Entelo,
we kind of figured.
She then referred someone to me. And I was like, ooh, Kelly's probably going to be bummed that she referred you directly to me and not through Kelly.
It's all right. I can spread the wealth around a little bit.
I know. So how many people have been hired in Entelo based on your referrals?
I have gotten 3.
3?
So I got 3, and then I had 2 more who got really close, to the offer stage, didn't work out for, one reason or the other. And then I've had, I don't even know how many make it to sort of the main round of the interview, like get through the tech screen and make it to the main round.
And that's how long have you been here for?
8 months.
Yeah. All right. Not bad. Those are some pretty good stats for referring people. Does it make a difference for you if there are spiffs involved, prizes?
I mean, it doesn't hurt my feelings. It's not the only reason. It's certainly not the only reason I refer people here. Like if I didn't think this was a good company, I wouldn't, there's not a sum of money that the recruiting department would be willing to offer that would, make me put my reputation or my relationship with people on the line. I'm not going to feed people into a bad company. But yeah, I mean, the referral bonus doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. Let's be real.
Yep. Hey, I know. It's one of my great regrets of being in recruiting is that I've never been paid a referral bonus. So I hear you. Okay. So we've got a big hiring quarter coming up in Q3. I think there's somewhere between 35 and 40 open positions that we're going to have to fill. I have no idea how we're going to do that without referrals. So the big question is, are you ready to defend your referral crown and be our top referrer in Q3?
I mean, I'm always ready to defend my top referrer crown. Though it would be awesome to have other people, get some hires, because there's a lot of, as I said, there's a lot of untapped folks out there who could just be incredible. And It would be exciting. It's always exciting when somebody new joins, and
Yeah.
especially when it's somebody who has like a relationship with an engineer we already have here on staff.
Yeah, I know there's new people everywhere I look around here. So
Yeah.
it's time to start getting them to churn through their contacts and refer people. All right. So one last final tip, anything you want to share with us is just your parting words on why referrals are important and how you seem to have mastered it.
Tip on why referrals are important, or how to master referring?
I'm going to let you do both, Kelly.
I would say referrals are important because you spend your life with your coworkers. I mean, you're here most of the time, a minimum 8 hours a day, sometimes longer, depending. So the people that you work around ought to be people that you want to work around. And referring is, referring, I think, is sort of the best way to maybe achieve that, because the thing about it is that when you get somebody in who nobody knows, maybe they perform really, really well, but there's nobody really there to vouch for their character. And we all put our best foot forward when we're interviewing. That's not necessarily our authentic self. I think probably more often than not, it's like a very cleaned up version of our authentic self, right? So if you're referring somebody, presumably you've actually spent time with that person in a not formal context. And obviously it depends on sort of how well if you're referring like a really close friend versus, an acquaintance of an acquaintance, it's going to be a little bit different. But just the same, obviously there was something about that person where you thought, I wouldn't mind working around this person every single day for the foreseeable future. So I think that referrals can build, very strong teams in that way. In terms of mastering referrals, I would just say, this is like kind of easier right now said than done, but just cultivate relationships. And when you have an opportunity professionally to help somebody out, go for it, especially if it's not, if it's not a big deal for you to pass information along or make a, broker an introduction. Being the person that helps other people is a really nice spot to be. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, nurture your relationships and, get to know people. And when you meet somebody who you think would be a fit somewhere, offer to make an introduction, whether that's to your company or to another company where you think, that person would do really well.
Fantastic. I really appreciate it. Well, Kelly, thank you again for joining us on Hiring on All Cylinders today, and for sharing all of your wealth of experience and success with employee referrals. And we'll look forward to seeing what else you come forward with in the coming months while we continue to hire like crazy here.
Thank you, Britt.